and maintaining street lights in the country between 2018 and 2019.
An amount of 38,388,702.50 was transferred to the Ministry of Energy, out of which 21,863,937 cedis was utilized by the Ministry.
And in business, Securities and Exchange Commission hints of payment of locked up funds soon.
And later on Spotlight.
I think at the end of the day, I take my line of work seriously. This is a song for my beautiful girl in the world.
And we'll highlight the musical journey of journalist turned rapper, one of my favorites, D Crime, here on Newsnight later. Why don't you join me with your thoughts and comments? If you're a parent, are you listening to all these disturbances in parts of the country as your children write the WASI? I want to hear from you. 0244340437. My name is Evans Mensah. Details after the break.
55, 78, 17. Hey, Charlie. My network is really killing me. I have to pay my uncle's workers mobile money, but the charges alone, it's about 380 cedis. Charges alone just to send money? That's $10 of cement already, my guy. Listen, bro, you can save money on charges if you move to Vodafone Cash now. Vodafone Cash? But my network is... Hey, sending money on that your network, you pay. Sending money on your network to other networks, you pay. But guess what? Sending money on Vodafone Cash is free. Sending money on Vodafone Cash to all other networks is also absolutely free. No charges at all on Vodafone Cash. So tell me, what are you still doing on that your network? Massa, look sharp, then move to Vodafone Cash. Hey, make a change the SIM right now. Yes, sending money on Vodafone Cash to all other networks is now absolutely free. Send unlimited amounts of money as many times as you like for free. Just dial *110# now to send money.
The future is exciting. Ready?
Hey, I say, mix the cement in correct proportional.
Hey, contractor.
Hey, Buccaneer, what's your soul?
Yeah, Malande. Sorry, I say. When you attend the year of return, Ankasa. Hey, contractor. A danya wasting ye. Hey, what would you feel it too much?
Who project here? Me friend a gas them from top to down. If you are a gas them.
Hey, yes, solid pa.
Hey, you see gas them, man. And for soup, you know what do? On your quality, no question. Extra gas them cement biara. I will cook a crab be. Over 5,000 plus communities. And a gas them. I donations. SCC schools, I built a clinic. Now, what a packaging now? What's Shadara and environmentally friendly?
Never compromise on quality. Choose the value Gassam offers you always. Gassam, the nation builder.
The countdown to December 7th is on. The general election is about you, the people, and the real issue. The Imani Center for Policy and Education and your election headquarters bring you the minor political parties and independent candidates election debate live on Joy News, Joy 99.7 FM, and across our digital platform. Send your questions ahead to info@ibanighana.org. Let your voices be heard. The minor political parties and independent candidate election debate is brought to you by the Imani Center for Policy and Education and your election headquarters.
And later here on Newsline, we have details of that exciting debate coming up next week for you. Imani will join me. We'll also speak to Winston whilst we build up to that all-important debate next week among the independent candidates. First is the minority political parties and independent candidates debate, special event brought to you by Imani and your election headquarters. Stay with us for that later on Newsline. Now, the opposition National Democratic Congress is demanding an immediate investigation and prosecution of individuals behind the attack on 5 persons injured when armed men stormed a registration center at the Jumako Bisiase in the Central Region. The NDC is already pointing accusing fingers at the bodyguards of New Patriotic Party parliamentary candidate for Jumako Inyani CM constituency, Dr. Rashid Kwesi Etwafo. Now, media reports suggest the parliamentary candidate picked up information that foreigners were being registered after they were supposedly basked by the NDC to some registration centers. But before we hear from the NDC in the Central Region, sister of one of the victims allegedly attacked, Patience Ward, says his brother is battling for his life currently.
I got here is unconscious, so we can't tell what exactly happened here.
What is his condition now?
No, he can walk, and the tracking is not good. Since the pain is at the back of his head and the leg, that he can't walk, and at the same time he can't walk.
What do you intend doing?
Right now, we want to transfer him first. Let's go to Accra, maybe to see a specialist and see whether his condition is good.
Tell us a bit about your brother. Who is he? Somebody who wonder how come he got caught up in this? Is he troublesome?
My brother, when you go to my hometown, everybody knows him. He's a lovely person. Even if you don't know him, you see him today, you'll fall in love with him. He's free with everybody. Yeah, that's what he is.
Well, the Central Regional Communications Office of the NDC, Kwesi Dawood, says the alleged bodyguards stormed the registration center, ransacked the materials, pulled down canopies, and vandalized some cars parked within the vicinity.
The Minister of Transport led about the tax leave to the members of the NPP's vigilante group, the Facebook post, to cause mayhem at the 21 registration centers in the Jumako Exit, which includes the Jumako, which is the hometown and stronghold of the incumbent MP, Honorable Crystal Atto-Forster. Mr. Kweko Foresiamwa, who led yesterday's attack, has been holding series of sinister meetings in this constituency, and anytime he's in the constituency, violence erupts against innocent citizens perceived to be the NDC sympathizers. The leader of his gang, by name Ali, who is driving one of the unregistered seekers, fired several gunshots yesterday and bolted away. Sadly, this unfortunate conduct of the attack was in the full glare of the police officers and military officers deployed to the various registration offices.
Well, we are now hearing from the new Patriotic Party candidate in the area, Jumako Inyan, Isian constituency, Dr. Rashid Kwesi Etwafo. He's dismissing the accusations. He spoke to Araba Kumsing on election brief on the Journalist channel.
I did hear that they said we have vandalized some 21 polling stations, and I led the team, and then I'm told the transport minister led it. It is not true. Yesterday, this is what happened. So as we are concerned, and you can verify from the district police officer, commander, or the district health director, to ascertain whether it is true or not, and the district electoral commissioner. Yesterday, at the polling center called EACA Kropon, our polling agent challenged someone he perceived not to have a legal right to register. He used a challenge process. So in using the challenge process, the NDC's agent bounced on him, attacked him personally, and that didn't even stop him from challenging the process. Now, I'm taken aback that after that had been resolved, the NDC now comes out to say that we had attacked their people, and this was at the Jumako District Hospital receiving treatment. This morning, I have been to the Jumako District Hospital, and the acting district health director tells me that she has not received any patient that has been attacked through electoral violence. These pictures they are circulating are internet-based pictures. You can always verify from the internet. If in actual fact they claim we have vandalized properties, the electoral commissioner or they claim the electoral commission says we have vandalized electoral material, why hasn't complaint been filed with the police? None of the sort. In actual fact, today I have visited every one of the polling stations. The registration is ongoing. So we are taken aback that the NDC will come up to say that we are going around vandalizing 21 polling stations, and Dr. Rashid is leading the team in one vein, and another breath, the transport minister is leading another team vandalizing polling stations. What do we stand to lose? Or what do we stand to gain by vandalizing those polling stations? Nothing. And I would beg that you verify from the district electoral commissioner if any material has been vandalized by the Patriotic Party since the registration exercise began. In actual fact, the electoral commissioner has lodged a complaint with the police. And the complaint we are aware of is that the Zongo Caucus wing of the NDC attacked one of his registration officers, and that is with the police. We have lodged 14 complaints with the police of various households. So I'm surprised that the NDC is saying this. If indeed we have attacked, they shouldn't report to the police. I have not seen any of this people in this.
So what have we managed to verify? Let's speak to Richard Kodonyako. He is our Central Regional Correspondent. Richard, so I know you've been talking to residents, some of them eyewitnesses. What have they confirmed to you?
Well, so the people I spoke to, some of them indeed told us that there were some near clashes, and so the canopy under which the EC officials were working were pulled down, and so it caused a momentary suspension of the electoral activities for a period of about 1 hour before they were able to resume activities. So this is what has been confirmed to us. In fact, we've also been working our sources with the Ghana Police Service in charge of the Central Region, and they are telling us that they are putting together a statement to enable them come out properly. And so that is what we have been told. A short while ago, we were told by one of the victims, the sister to one of the victims, and she told us that their brother was being sent to Accra for some medical attention. In fact, were allowed to see in the ambulance someone who was injured. We are unable to verify whether indeed it was as a result of the incident at the Jumalcon that was what led to the injury of that particular person.
I am curious though. You said the police we should expect a statement from them, but have they said anything at all about this? Have they made any arrests?
Well, no arrest has been made. In fact, from morning we've been with the police, but the Jumalcon police commander himself has been at the regional police headquarters since morning, and there have been meetings ongoing, but we are yet to be briefed on what exactly what account the police actually is giving to us. And so the police has not said anything about this incident except to say that they are working on a statement and the public will be made known soon.
Richard, thank you very much. Now, the PPP, the General Secretary of that party, Papa Kwakon, is asking the EC now to cost the arrest of those perpetrating the violence the ongoing registration exercise to serve as a deterrent to others ahead of the 2020 elections.
There are laws in this country. There are electoral laws. In fact, there are about 5 laws governing our electoral process. And so if people go contrary to what the law says, the recent law which was passed, the Vigilantism and the Other Offences Act, is so clear. The penalties and the sanctions are clear. So when people, excuse my language, misbehave and behave as if they are above the laws of the state, the law must deal with them. We can't continue to have registration exercises completely overtaken by people who think that for them they are above the law and they can do anything that pleases them. It shouldn't continue. And I'm saying that this is the best time for the Electoral Commission to crack the whip. If they don't do that and they allow this thing to fester at the election day proper, it means that worse things are going to happen. So they must use these people as scapegoats for everybody to know that the 2020 election is a serious election, and we are not going to condone or entertain any of such characters parading at the centers, arrogating to themselves powers they do not have.
I want to quickly go to the Central Region and bring in the spokesperson for the Central Regional Police Command. Joins us on the telephone line right now, Madam Irene Opon. Thank you very much. So what is the police account of what happened at this registration center at Jumalcon Bisiase?
Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners. On the 5th of August 2020, at CAC Registration Center at Jumalcon Bisiase, at about 2 p.m., one Kobina said reported to Bisiase police that he was assaulted by some men, numbering about 15, who arrived at the center during the registration. And he further stated that he was attacked by the said men and 7 others. And in the course of the attack, damage was caused to tents at the registration center. On the same day and date, 2 EC officials also reported at the Bisiase police station that after the chaos, some men has threatened to cause mayhem at the center if they continue with the registration. But that time, police have sent reinforcements, so the situation was under control and they were able to continue with the process. Currently, police medical forms have been issued to all 8 persons who reported to have been assaulted, and investigations are ongoing. No arrest has been made, and the Jumako Bisiasi is calm. Police patrols, even though the exercise have ended today, police patrols are still there. We have not withdrawn them, and we will keep them till we gather intel that the situation is okay for us to move back.
Okay. So it's actually a fact that the registration was disrupted and some EC officials were affected by this violence.
The youth officials were not directly affected by the violence. Yes, let me start with this. Yes, I can confirm that there was some violence at Ejumako Bisiasi CAC registration center. That was yesterday. But then the complaint that the EC officials brought was that they have had threats from some men around that if they continue with the registration, they will cause mayhem. That was where our reinforcement has already arrived, because we had the information from the policeman who was on duty at the center. Reinforcement is needed, and it was sent. So at that moment, the exercise continues, and even today, it continued as well.
Okay. So far, have you managed to make any progress in identifying these individuals who were behind this disturbance?
As I said earlier, we have not made any arrest, and as police institution, we move with information. Anybody who have information concerning the incident that happened at CAC registration center, the Central Regional Police Command, the doors are open. They should walk in and give us detailed information, and we promise that we will move.
Just before we brought you on, we heard from the NPP candidate for the area who seemed to have enough information, a lot of information about what may have happened. The NDC too claims to know a bit of what has happened. Will the police invite the leaders of these two parties at least to assist with investigations?
As I said, anybody in Ghana, our laws are made for all of us to be obeyed. So when I say anybody, it includes everybody in Ghana. So if I'm getting this additional information from you, I will really say to the regional command to take action on it.
I mean, the central region, since I have you on, I mean, this is not the first time we've had an incident involving such violence. A famous one involving the Minister for Special Development Initiative, Howard Kumsing, again was dealt with by the Central Regional Police. I remember speaking to you about this. What's the latest on this after the minister's gun was retrieved from her and were promised that investigations will continue?
Please, previously, with my last interview with you, I said that the case has been transferred from the regional headquarters to police CID headquarters. So in that case, it's not within Central Region jurisdiction for me to comment on. You can contact the CID, PR, or the director PR at the headquarters.
That is Madam Irene Oponda, speaks for the Central Regional Police Command. Well, the national organizer of the PNC, Desmond Into, says the National Peace Council should accept blame for the pockets of violence witnessed at the registration centers.
I think that the Peace Council did not do well as a council. If you ask me, my main reason is that they called these two political parties, sat them down, and decided that they should come out with an agreement that they are not going to involve their facts or their vigilante groups in any electoral processes in Ghana. Why the two of them alone? Because we have about 24 to 26 political parties in Ghana. And when we are going in for elections, the party that NDC is the same party TNC. And so if you think that there's a problem with the process and you have other political parties, why don't you bring us all on board? So that at the end of the day, we deal with this tanker once and for all. Because look, sometimes we go for meetings And the mere presence that some of us, our political parties, these other minority political parties, our presence calms down issues. Because when NDC gets up to speak, NPP will also get up. But when some of us, we come in, you realize that the situation is normalized. And so in going in to sign a peace agreement or peace accord, I think that it was necessary for the Peace Council, it was necessary for those people who were involved to add all the other political parties so that at the end of the day, they can come out and hold these two political parties accountable for their actions.
So that is a position there, of course, one minority political party. Of course, your candidate will later on join us for the minority political parties debate later on in the year, definitely before the elections. You want to stay with us for that exclusively here on Joy 99.7 FM on the Joy channel in partnership with Imani. Still on the elections, by the way, the registration process has ended officially. We are now hearing from the Electoral Commission, the Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission, Dr. Sribo Kwaku, says the process has so far been impressive.
So the last person is registered, we are not ending the registration. So we will have a program for the people who are outside the country. But we should bear in mind that the law says when we register you less than 60 days to an election, you can be part of that election concern. So anytime anybody comes and the person wants to register, we register the person. That is less than 60 days, the person can take part in the election.
At the last update, you put the figure of those who have registered at more than 50 million. Do we have updated figures?
We will normally compare them after the 5th. So we'll get the final phase tomorrow, today, and it will be ready tomorrow.
And as we prepare to wrap up the mass exercise today, what's your own assessment of the exercise?
What I would say is that God has been good to us. Whatever we set up to do, we have done. Now, if you go to all the centers, the members are not there, meaning that we have successfully registered almost everybody.
Well, if you haven't registered just yet, don't worry, because the Electoral Commission says they will provide an opportunity for you to again register in a mop-up exercise scheduled for this particular weekend. But in fact, the EC also explains to us that even for those who've traveled and because of COVID-19 found themselves stranded abroad out of a jurisdiction, when the borders open, they will again allow you to register, except that the law mandates that if you register within 50 days before an election, you will be unable to vote. But they will make the opportunity available for you to go and register. So if you haven't registered yet, your last opportunity comes up this particular weekend. Take advantage of that. The official process has ended now, and thankfully maybe the violence will also go with it. News 90 on Joy 99.7 FM, your election headquarters. Now, Communications Officer of the Opposition NDC, Sami Jimfi, has filed a formal complaint at the police CID headquarters against the Assistant Central Member of Parliament, Kennedy Ejipon, for threatening his life. In a letter cited by Joy News and addressed to the Director General of the police CID, Mr. Jimfi's lawyers said Kennedy Ejipon threatened to unleash his men on the NDC Communications Officer. The Assistant Central MP is said to have made the comments on Asempa FM.
Sami Jimfi, a Bema, what do you mean? Hey, I am doing on your Bema, well, small. Wait, but you are moment to beat 3 seconds. What are we? Mr. Number to beat just 3 seconds. Asempa FM. I don't know, Kasasa. What is the memory here? Your money say the peaceful atmosphere now here enjoy. Please, I enjoy. The boy speaks with venom, and nobody is saying anything.
Assistant Central MP Kennedy Ejipon there. Well, Sami Jimfi is asking the police to investigate the legislator for the comments he's made. His lawyer joins us on the telephone line right now, Patricia, and I'm grateful that you could join us here on Newsnight. So in this letter to the CID, what additional detail are you providing to justify the claim that your client's life is threatened?
Good evening to you, Evans, and good evening to your listeners as well. You will notice that ordinarily this would have been considered as one of the discussions that accompany political discourses in the country. But having regard to the recent history and the notorious fact that Ahmed Swale faced a similar threat on the same show, which is Ekosi saying, it becomes imperative to show that or to demonstrate that Mr. Kennedy Japan has the capacity not only to threaten but to carry out the threat. And so we will not disclose the details. My instructions for my clients are that he has further gathered evidence to show that indeed he has taken steps to organize tasks. And so we had to take the step of notifying the police by lodging an official criminal complaint so that in the unlikely event that anything happens, we know who to look out for. And so that is why we reported to the police today.
Has the police given you any feedback since you filed that complaint?
No, the police have scheduled a meeting with us on the 17th of August 2020. And so we'll be going back to the CID headquarters on the 17th of August 2020.
Also, Sami Jemfi himself, how is he reacting to all this?
Oh, Sami Jemfi is fine. I spoke to him this morning. He's okay. There is nothing bothering him, except that, like I indicated, because it is Kennedy of Japan, we believe that he has the capacity, especially by recent acts in the past. And so we want to take all precautions. And we want to call on all Ghanaians to be on the lookout for each other, because ordinarily our politics should not be accompanied by threats of harm and threats of death as well.
You've raised the Ahmed Swale issue. That is a matter that is still being investigated. And are you linking Kennedy Japan to that?
We cannot say that Mr. Kennedy Japan is responsible. We can only say that when his threat was contemporaneous enough to the act, then we can say that based on that we are taking precautions and we are calling on the security agencies to be on the lookout, because if he has done that before and it has resulted in an act, then in fact and in our belief, this cannot be a mere threat or a mere political gimmick. It could be that he has taken some steps. And I should say that, you know, the threat of harm and threat of death are offenses under our Criminal Offences Act 29, specifically sections 74 and 75. Now, I should add that preparation in itself is a crime as well. So the police need not wait for the act to be carried out before the act. It is enough that a threat has been issued. And so if you consider the reputation of the person in society, if you compare it to act which is not too far away from us, the police should not ordinarily even have waited for us, but we are always willing and able to assist them to carry out this investigation.
Specifically, what exactly do you want the police to do? Arrest Kennedy Japan?
We want the police to do their work. If somebody makes an official criminal complaint against another person on the basis, especially in an instance where we have a video and an audio evidence, the police must investigate. We cannot tell the police how to do their work, but you would agree with me that ordinarily he ought to be invited, and also in accordance with the audio altering pattern rules to be given some hearing. So we cannot say that, but if an offense has been committed, the first thing the police has to do is to effect an arrest.
Lawyer for Sami Jemfi, the communications officer of the National Democratic Congress there, Beatrice Annan.
The countdown to December 7th is on. The general election is about you, the people, and the real issue. The Imani Center for Policy and Education and your election headquarters bring you the minor political parties and independent candidates election debate live on Joy News, Joy 99.7 FM, and across our digital platforms. Send your questions ahead to info@ibanighana.org. Let your voices be heard. The minor political parties and independent candidate election debate is brought to you by the Imani Center for Policy and Education and your election headquarters.
And joining me right now on the telephone line is the president of Imani Africa. We're partnering them for this exciting debate that's set to be unleashed next week. Frankie Kujo, thank you very much for your time here on Newsnight. This has been some time coming. The diversity that I guess people have sought for, and if you listen to some of the views, is so alternative to what we've been used to, the NDC and the MPP. I'm just curious what really inspired this, as if I don't know.
I like the backbone with which you delivered the last question, Evans. Good evening to you, good evening to your team, good evening to your listeners. First of all, I think on the back of the last interview that you had, gives us every reason to steer the affairs of this country, at least the conversations getting to elections away from the high octane spin, and indeed what is becoming more like a war zone. And we think that if we manage to adopt certain strategies, certain programs, we may be able to steer the country away from focusing on violent-related issues to discussing real issues as well. And of course, the whole idea really is that the leading contenders in this battle for who is mightier than the other in terms of violence are the two major parties. Incidentally, there's a revolution of thought, in fact, which has been brewed in the minds of persons and people who believe that some sort of a third force is needed. You see, it's not necessarily the fact that you want these persons to win at all costs, the third force, but it's the fact that they provide a refreshing, page to which we should all be studying, that our democracy can indeed be said to be the democracy that requires everybody to have a stake in the affairs of state. So basically, that is the reason why we are doing this, to give an alternate platform for persons who believe they've also seen how the world works, to be able to give us a vision of their own future for Ghana.
It boils down to, every election boils down to a context of ideas, really. And we've been for so long, since 1992, being stuck with just two ideas coming from the NDC or MPP. The others have been shut out, and we the media must be humble enough to take some of the blame for this, because we shut the door on them. And I guess this is where the minority political parties and independent candidates debate becomes absolutely essential. So who exactly, this is a two-part sort of debate for now. The first one is next week. Tell us a bit about it.
So essentially next week will be for the independent candidates, at least those who have made their views known, those who have made their intentions known. We've counted 6 of them at the last count. These are persons who live within the country and without. Indeed, almost all of them seem to have had some international exposure and some international experience, development experience as well. We think that these people would be able to articulate somehow the problems the country faces, and indeed the solutions to get it out of the quagmire. So next week, our outing essentially will be for these persons. 2 of them are still outside of the country because of the pandemic, and I think the technical team at Joy FM.
Yes, and I can update yourself and everybody else listening that we are definitely going to get them to join us via Zoom from outside the country, because we say with diversity, everything else that we can do to get those views in is absolutely essential. So of course we're going to deploy technology to make that happen.
Well, that's refreshing to hear, Evans, and we've been working seamlessly
on this, and I think I like the working relationship we've had. I must say that the venue has been confirmed now, and it's going to be the UPSC, University for Professional Studies, Accra. They are going to host us, and I think an academic environment also suits this particular encounter. So next week, Thursday, at 4 p.m. at least, all those who will be invited will have to be seated. And then we give the console to you, the general of politics, political conversations in this country, Evans Mensah, and your able sidekick, MFR Powell, to take us, to ask us these questions. And these questions, by the way, are very interesting. We've had questions from ordinary Ghanaians. In fact, some of the questions are very, very incisive. It tells you that people are actually listening. Even though we've also managed at the money to scout through almost all facets of our economic and political life to bring what we believe are some of the very interesting questions as never heard before during presidential debates, would be challenging enough to challenge the contestants, and then somehow hear how the alternate views can resonate with some sections of Ghanaians, and who knows, they might cause a pandemic in the election.
I like that, Franklin. Franklin has a way with words. Franklin, I'm grateful that you could join us. You're on the Super Morning Show tomorrow as well with Winston as we build up into this. We're going to be introducing you in the coming days to these independent candidates, so you want to stay tuned for that. Franklin, I'm grateful, and best of luck to you and the rest of the team.
The countdown to December 7th is on. The general election is about you, the people, and the real issue. The Imani Center for Policy and Education and your election headquarters bring you the minor political parties and independent candidates election debate live on Joy News, Joy 99.7 FM, and across our digital platforms. Send your questions ahead to info@ibanighana.org. Let your voices be heard. The minor political parties and independent candidate election debate is brought to you by the Imani Center for Policy and Education and your election headquarters.
And George is here with details from the world. Hello, George. You're so excited. What's happening?
A lot of things are happening in the political and the
a lot.
Sometimes as a journalist you want to just sit back and observe and sometimes also participate in that process.
Yeah, listen, I like the first part. I'm looking forward to the day when elections will be building up and I'll just be home, just chill with some fruit juice and just enjoying, and just enjoying the coverage. I'm looking forward to that. I need to retire one of these days.
Who would actually make that call?
Oh, but you're there. I mean, you're there. There's, you do justice to it. Oh, no, you will. Don't worry. I mean, once you do, you just disappear for a few days, and then you re-emerge. Absolutely, yes. What do you have in the headlines, George?
Well, even it's coming up in business. The Securities and Exchange Commission hints of payments of locked up funds very soon. And Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta secures Parliament's approval over suspension of the Fiscal Responsibility Act that seeks to restrict deficit. That sought to restrict deficit of not more than 5% of the value of the economy. We'll be getting you more details as to what this means for government's expenditure for this year. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your offers, essentials. And First National Bank, we are the bank that understands your business. First National Bank, how can we help you?
So everyone says I'm a Kosia filler, but it's not like I'm nosy or go out to find out the latest filler. It's just that I get 50 megabytes of data free after paying for only the first minute of every call. And so I just keep discovering stuff minute after minute. That's how come I was minding my business, scrolling through my timeline, and I found out Coco has a new baby. Oh, and lastly, I learned Ken won the lottery. You see, Ken is my brother's friend. So hello, look who's about to roll with the rich and famous.
Enjoy even more value with MTN Free After One. You only pay for the first minute of your call on MTN Free After One, and the rest is free. Plus, you enjoy free 50 megabytes worth of data to browse your favorite sites. Compare where, compare there. So dial *315# to sign up. We day for you everywhere you go. Terms and conditions apply.
We give you nothing but the best. We stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Books and Stationery. Everybody's going to the one and only shop where customer satisfaction is a guarantee. Kingdom Books and Stationery.
Oh yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
Puma Drinks, ready to add flavor to your life? Puma Drinks, bursting with so many flavors, you just can't have enough.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the Securities and Exchange Commission has indicated that it could start the process of payment of locked up investment funds based on meeting some conditions. The Commission recently indicated that it has finalized the validation process pending the required bailout payment from the Finance Ministry. Deputy Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Paul Abebio, says the process was just stalled based on some legal hurdles. He was speaking at a conference today in Accra via a virtual platform.
In terms of timing, obviously the Minister went to Parliament a few weeks ago. The mechanisms are being finalized, and we are hoping that in the next 2 weeks, the resolution mechanism will start to be rolled out. We understand the suffering that people are going through, and in a sense, if we had intervened, some of these issues might have been pending. So it's important to appreciate that it's an intervention that was not even budgeted for, that now has to be introduced into the budget and has fiscal implications. And then you layer on top of that the COVID crisis, which is increasing the cost of government even before you bring in these bailout costs. So that's really where we are. We are praying that people be patient. We understand that they're suffering, but we are working as assiduously as we can to bring a solution to the marketplace.
Paul Abebio is the Deputy Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission. The Securities and Exchange Commission lastly liquidated the licenses of 53 fund management firms over challenges in their failure to meet some regulatory requirements. The Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, has highlighted high non-performing loans for banks post-COVID-19 as his biggest fear. The governor disclosed this when he presented the paper at the Gimpa Law Conference on the topic Banking and the Financial Sector Crisis in Ghana. He however maintains that measures being implemented so far could help the banks to absorb the expected shocks.
Going forward, the financial sector will require constant regulatory and policy attention to mitigate risks. The economic impact of the pandemic may result in higher non-performing loans and capital erosion of banks. A recapitalization of the SEI will become necessary to improve their resilience and enhance the safety of depositors' funds. The lessons learned are many. The bank is putting greater focus on identifying the early warning signals and initiating the prompt corrective action.
Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, speaking at the Gimpa Law Conference on the topic Banking and Finance Sector Crisis in Ghana via a virtual platform. Now, Deputy Finance Minister Kweku Kwarteng says Parliament's approval of today's suspension of the Fiscal Responsibility Act would help keep the country's economy back on track despite the COVID-19 pandemic. The act prohibits a budget deficit of not more than 5% of the total value of the economy. Suspension means that the government will be able to spend above the threshold. The Kwarteng tells Joy Business is assuring us that government will be prudent with the expenditure going forward.
We need to spend to protect our people.
and revenues have taken a hit across the world, Ghana being no exception, and therefore it was always going to be difficult if the House didn't approve this. But I'm confident the House approved it because they saw reason, and we are happy they did. We will be prudent, as I indicated on the floor. While we seek to spend to contain the pandemic and to protect our people, we are also conscious of the fact that we do not break the back of the economy, so that the recovery will not be too painful for Ghanaians. And so we have been spending prudently.
Kweku Kwating is the Deputy Minister of Finance. Economist and Director of the Institute of Fiscal, Social and Economic Research, Professor Peter Korte, is worried over funding sources for government's 100 billion economic revitalization program. He raised this concern at Joy Business after speaking at the Institute's media engagement. They reviewed the mid-year budget. Here are highlights of the engagement in a report.
The Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISA, while commending government for some interventions towards improving the livelihoods of Ghanaians, also called for support for households based on scientific data. It says this will ensure that targeted groups benefit from the various programs. The Institute also highlighted the need to track how the funds are being used in the various sectors.
We don't want people to hide behind COVID and dissipate the public purse. We want people to be accountable.
Professor Peter Korte raised concerns about funding for the 100 billion economic revitalization program.
The point is that we are getting maybe 70% of the funding from the private sector, and already the private sector is struggling. So not until you revive the private sector, it will be difficult to get a 70 billion from the private sector. That is the point I'm raising. You need to revive the sector to a stage before you can be able to tap into. If they are losing businesses, they are losing revenue. From the business tracker survey, we've seen that yes, they are shedding jobs, they are paying lower wages, their revenue, their sales have gone down. How do you go to the same private sector to mobilize funds? Which aspect of the private sector? Because they are all struggling.
ISA expressed confidence in the mid-year budget, which it says inspires hope.
And there was a business report. And Evans, one important thing that you might want to be excited about, maybe one would say, because the prices of commodities, they continue to decline on the market. Now,
prices of commodities going down.
Yeah, on the market. That's according to Isoko's commodity market update for June. Now, they measure the farm gate prices, or even prices at the top 10 markets across the country, and it shows the prices are actually going down. That could be good for you, for your budget, for your consumption, and even for your standard of living, Evans. And that's all for Business on News Night, Evans.
And of course, you have to look forward to PM Express tonight. A pretty exciting conversation coming up next, assessing the support that businesses are getting during COVID-19. It appears the banking sector isn't responding.
That's the concern there, but engaging the banks, they have a different story to tell. The Deputy Chief Executive of the Association of Bankers is saying that, George, watch the numbers. The numbers show that they are lending, and they are telling us that they've even given some significant support to businesses. So we are engaging the Deputy Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Bankers, Johnny War, on this. So you might have to catch us at 9 p.m. for more details on that one. And some developments in the banking industry. There was a recent Bank of Ghana report that actually showed us or revealed that some people in the banking industry are collaborating with fraudsters to defraud people when it comes to this mobile money platform business.
It's a very interesting conversation. The reason why I'm looking forward to this is because the president made a lot of announcements about monies that the banking sector is making available. Because there's a government portion of the money, and there was a banking sector portion of the money making available to businesses that they can go and access for businesses within the COVID-19 period. Right. And so it'll be interesting to find out what the banks themselves say about the ability to actually disburse those funds as promised. Join George Yafe on PM Express 9 p.m. tonight on the Journey channel. The Energy Minister John Pitame says government spent $81 million fixing and maintaining street lights in the country. Mr. Mewu in Parliament today disclosed that the levy the power consumers pay for street lights has yielded 273 million Ghana cedis over the period. He noted ECG, NETCO, and other power distributors transferred 83 million Ghana cedis of that amount to the Ministry of Energy for the purpose of fixing and maintaining street lights. Here is a further breakdown of how the monies accrued were used.
NETCO, VRA, and other suppliers of electricity, and shall be paid to the ministry responsible for power and electricity distribution companies. Mr. Speaker, in 2018, an amount of 134,266,105.81 cedis was collected by EPD, GRA, and NETCO. An amount of 38,388,702.50 was transferred to the Ministry of Energy, out of which 21,863,937 cedis was utilized by the Ministry.
But the minority in Parliament is demanding proper accountability of monies released. Ranking member on the Roads and Transport Committee of Parliament, Kwame Buja, is calling for a decentralization of street light management to ensure adequate safety on our roads. Let's do sports now, and Benedict is on the line with details. Benedict?
Yes, Evans. Now, Ashanti Gold, they will begin testing players and staff from tomorrow for COVID-19. According to a statement from the club, the testing has been scheduled to take place in a space of 3 days, and this is in anticipation of the resumption of the Ghana Premier League in October. Now, the testing will be done at the club. There's the medical team in collaboration with the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research and Tropical Medicine. Meanwhile, the club has dispelled rumors that some of its players have tested positive for coronavirus. Also, tomorrow, Kumasi Asante Kotoko will make a big announcement. Maria Amponsa, who, recently or some time back contested for the Ghana Football Association presidency, is set to be named as the new chief executive officer of the club, and that announcement will be made tomorrow. Also, Premier League clubs have voted against allowing teams to make 5 substitutions per game in the 2021 season. And we've got some Europa updates. Last night, Manchester United came from a goal down to beat Lask Linsk by 2-1 to finish their tie 7-1 on aggregate to qualify for the next stage of the competition. Well, tonight, we've got some games. One already done. Bayer Leverkusen have beaten Rangers by a goal to nil, so they are through to the next stage. Also, Sevilla in their game against Roma, Sevilla leading by 2-0. Later we'll have Basel, Frankfurt from Germany, and then Wolverhampton Wanderers will host Olympiacos at the Molineux Stadium. That's your sports advance.
Benedict, thank you very much. Now, former local government minister Professor Kwame Nahoy has revealed the founder of the NDC, Jerry John Rawlings, attempted to mastermind a coup in the NDC in 2006. Professor Hoy says the former president first approached his brother Ato Ahoy to contest President Mills in the NDC flag bearer race. As recorded in his book, Working for Rawlings, Ato Ahoy refused to the offer. In the book, he questions why Mr. Rawlings should feel betrayed by his former close confidants, including Professor Kwame Nahoy himself. Here are some of the questions he posed to the former president.
Did Dr. Obeda Samoa feel betrayed when Rawlings and his wife abandoned him in his campaign to be nominated by Professor Mills as his running mate for the 2000 presidential election after Daniel Ohene Jekum, Kofi Totobi Kwache and I intervened? Did those of us, his colleagues in the PNDC, NDC governments, feel betrayed when he cast all those insinuations against us in public, castigating us and branding some of us as greedy bastards? Did Eddie Annan, who he got to contest Professor Mills in the NDC primaries for the 2008 presidential election, feel betrayed when he, Rawlings, left him, Eddie Annan, in the lurch on the eve of the primaries upon realizing that Eddie Annan stood no chance of winning against Professor Mills? Did Professor John Evans Atta Mills feel betrayed when he, Rawlings, started his campaign of public denigration and vilification of the professor and continued until the professor's death in 2012? Did the family of Professor Mills feel betrayed when, upon the death of the professor, he, Rawlings, spoke so contemptuously of the professor that the family felt compelled to issue a public rejoinder admonishing him, Rawlings, to behave like a statesman? Does the NDC, which he helped to found, feel betrayed by his constant public criticism of the party and its leaders? Does the NDC, which he helped found, feel betrayed by the fact that he is now a co-founder of his wife's party, the National Democratic Party, NDP, which in itself is contrary to the constitution of the NDC? Do the members of the NDC feel betrayed by his current very close association with President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, a man he used to disdainfully refer to as that short man? Did my brothers and I feel betrayed by his attempt to persuade Ato Ahoy to contest Professor Mills in the NDC primaries for the 2008 presidential election?
99 questions. You had extras there from former local government minister Professor Kwesi Ahoy's book, Working for Rawlings. That my favorite time of Newsnight is right now. Time for Spotlight. And tonight the focus is on a man who has a certificate in journalism but decided to venture into his first love, music. Like myself, started off in music, ended up in journalism. He did the reverse. I'm talking about the man, D Crime.
Yo, fellas, sing the song for the one you love.
Dr. Crime is the stage name of Darlington Kwesi Ejekum, a Ghanaian rapper and early proponent of the Ghanaian trip-hop genre. Dr. Crime has also performed as a TV presenter, a brand ambassador, and is CEO of Trip-hop Records.
First of all, I was born and bred in Tema. My parents are in Tema, but of course, originally, because
Ejekum was born in Tema and began making music in his early school days. He is a graduate of the Ghana Institute of Journalism. Oh yes, a certificate from GIJ.
I think that at the end of the day, I take my line of work seriously. Now, we get no chance. This is Dr. Crime. Because sit down and like I said tonight, he's a very calm, cool, outspoken person.
Dr. Crime is an acronym which means Doctor of the Creative Rhymes you most enjoy. Whilst in high school, Dr. Crime gained himself underground popularity through Kasahari Level, a popular rap competition on Adom FM, which featured Sarkodie, Stage J, and the likes.
In between Sarkodie's show, I also had a couple of shows.
Okay.
And that's how it all started. And then, even though there was, we were apart, it's not like there was a problem. No, there was no problem. But you might also when you call it,
it was through these rap battles and his style of music which caught the eye of a Jams Records label to sign him in 2010. He released his first hit single, Kill Me Shy, the same year. In 2011, he released his debut album called Finally Finally. In 2012, Kill Me Shy emerged Hip Life Song of the Year at the Ghana Music Awards. He was also nominated for the Songwriter of the Year, Most Popular Song of the Year, and Hip Life Hip Hop Artist of the Year categories. Ejekum released his sophomore album entitled Showtime in February 2018. The 20-track album includes his hit single Coco Sakura, which he featured Sarkodie.
Come over, Coco Sakura, and show me that. Come up here with and show me that.
D-Crime. Upcoming artists stay true to themselves and never try to live a life to please others.
Clear my throat because I wanted to give you a few bars, but my time is up. Enjoy the rest of your evening. My name is Evans Mensah.
Fellas.